Welcome to Cruise News, your daily update on everything happening at sea. Visit cruisenews.io to see today's stories and sign up for email alerts. So, on today's brief, we are unpacking 3 distinct stories for you.
Right, covering everything from environmental policy to itinerary strategy.
Exactly. First, we'll examine the cruise industry's measurable progress toward its 2050 net zero emissions goal. Then we are going to look at Holland America Line's newly announced autumn 2027 Mediterranean deployment.
Specifically for the Rotterdam.
Right, and the strategic logic behind that routing. And finally, we will provide a factual report on a recent passenger fatality that occurred during a shore excursion in Bermuda.
Well, we should probably start with those environmental benchmarks, because
Yeah.
the sheer scale of the data here is massive.
It really is.
The Cruise Lines International Association, CLIA, just released its 2025 Environmental Technologies and Practices report.
And just to give you context on CLIA, they represent 59 member cruise lines.
Yeah, which is huge.
Right. That accounts for more than 95% of global cruise capacity. So when they report on something, they are essentially speaking for the global fleet.
Definitely. And back in late 2021, these member lines pledged to pursue net zero emissions by 2050. So this 2025 report is really the yardstick for that pledge.
And what's interesting is how it places shipboard systems and, port readiness on equal footing with the actual fuels.
Exactly. Bud Dar, the CEO of CLIA, noted that lines are investing tens of billions of dollars right now.
Tens of billions, yeah.
Right. And he highlighted a few key technologies: advanced wastewater systems, onshore power supply, air lubrication, and dual fuel engines.
I actually want to clarify how air lubrication works because it sounds highly technical.
Oh, it's fascinating. It really just comes down to physical drag.
Okay.
They pump continuous streams of compressed air under the hull of the vessel. It literally creates a carpet of microbubbles between the steel and the ocean.
So it's essentially turning the bottom of the cruise ship into a giant air hockey table.
That is a perfect analogy, yeah. It physically reduces hydrodynamic friction. So less drag means the engines don't work as hard, which directly lowers fuel consumption.
That makes a lot of sense. And speaking of engines, the report heavily emphasizes dual fuel engines, right? Especially regarding LNG or liquefied natural gas.
It does, yes. Dual fuel engines give these ships operational flexibility during this energy transition.
Because they can burn traditional maritime fuels if they have to, right? Like heavy fuel oil.
Right, or marine gas oil. But primarily, they have the capability to burn LNG. And crucially, it's an investment in the future.
Right, because these ships sail for decades.
Exactly. So as synthetic biofuels become commercially available, these ships won't need full retrofits. They're already built for the fuels of the future.
Which brings us to onshore power supply, or shore power.
Yeah, this is a big one.
If you've ever been docked in a port and heard that constant hum of the engines, shore power eliminates that. A ship plugs directly into the landside electrical grid to run hotel operations.
The lights, the air conditioning, the kitchens, all of it. But the CLIA report shows a really frustrating disconnect here between vessel readiness and port infrastructure.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty stark.
Currently, about 120 cruise ships can plug in. But by 2028, 239 ships are expected to be ready.
Which is roughly 80% of the global fleet.
Right. But fewer than 3% of cruise ports worldwide currently offer the required landside electricity connections.
Wait, fewer than 3%? If 80% of ships are ready, why is there such a massive gap at the ports?
It's just an astronomical municipal investment. A modern cruise ship draws several megawatts of power.
So you can't just run a heavy-duty extension cord to the pier.
Exactly, no. You're plugging a medium-sized town into a local grid. Ports have to build dedicated high-capacity substations. Plus, cruise ships often run on a 60 hertz electrical frequency.
And local grids, especially in Europe, run on 50 hertz.
Right. So municipalities have to install massive frequency converters so the local grid doesn't just short out.
Wow. So until ports get that funding, the emissions reductions from shore power will just stay bottlenecked.
They will, yeah, no matter how many ships are ready. But beyond power, the report notes members are now producing the majority of their freshwater at sea using advanced desalination.
And utilizing advanced wastewater treatment systems to ensure no untreated sewage is released during normal operations.
Right. And to see these benchmarks in practice, we can look at MSC Group's cruise division. They just released their 2025 sustainability report.
Right, which covers MSC cruises and explorer journeys.
Yes. Pierfrancesco Vago, the executive chairman, highlighted that MSC reached the International Maritime Organization's 2030 target 5 years early.
Let me interject here just to clarify this IMO 2030 target.
Sure.
When a cruise line says they hit an emissions target, but they're simultaneously launching massive new ships, it sounds contradictory. How is this target actually calculated?
That is a crucial distinction. The target falls under MARPOL Annex 6 regulations. It requires shipping to reduce CO2 emissions per transport work by 40% from 2008 levels.
Okay, so it's strictly an efficiency measure, not a hard cap on raw emissions.
Exactly. It calculates the vessel's capacity multiplied by the distance it travels.
So it's like a government mandating your car must get 40 miles to the gallon. Your car is cleaner, but if you buy 5 more of them, your family's total carbon footprint still goes up.
That is exactly how the transport work formula functions, yes. So by launching highly optimized vessels, MSC can meet this intensity reduction target even as their absolute footprint grows.
Got it. And the figures they reported are significant. In 2025, MSC used more than 9,800 tons of renewable fuels.
Which they state resulted in a 48,714-ton reduction in CO2 equivalent emissions.
They also completed 217 shore power connections.
Yeah, taking advantage of the ports that do have the infrastructure.
Yeah.
MSC also mapped its greenhouse gas emissions across its full value chain for the first time.
Right, which includes shipbuilding, employee travel, global logistics, and even onboard food and beverage procurement.
It's incredibly complex. And looking at their fleet, the MSC World America entered service in 2025. It's their third LNG dual-fuel vessel.
And they confirmed all future new builds will have this dual fuel capability.
Right. But their biodiversity strategy is also really interesting. They updated protocols to include specific whale strike mitigation measures.
And route adjustments in ecologically sensitive areas. But the most physical execution of that strategy is their Ocean Cay MSC Marine Reserve in the Bahamas.
Right, which originates from a 100-year lease signed with the Bahamian government back in December 2015.
They broke ground in 2021, and they undertook this massive $400 million effort to convert a former sand dredging site into a 64-square-mile marine reserve.
And this is located about 65 miles east of Miami and 20 miles south of Bimini.
Right. And a sand dredging site is basically an ecological dead zone. So they had to remove industrial scrap, replant over 75,000 trees and native plants, and restore the coral reefs.
A huge part of that is the Marine Conservation Center, operated by the MSC Foundation, which officially opened in April 2025.
That facility has a biolab, a 50-seat lecture hall, and a land-based coral nursery with 22 tanks.
Yeah, and the foundation reports they've trained over 20 marine science students and brought more than 17,000 cruise visitors through their education programs.
On the biological side, the nursery has grown over 600 corals and actively planted more than 250 onto the reef.
And in February 2026, they partnered with the Perry Institute for Marine Science for a coral species exchange at Ocean Cay.
To increase the genetic diversity of the nursery, right?
Exactly, to cultivate heat-resistant corals. They're also collaborating with the University of the Bahamas to support a dedicated marine science laboratory.
So it's fascinating how environmental regulations dictate ship operations, but physical limitations also dictate where these ships can go, which brings us to our second story.
Right, looking at itinerary planning.
Yes, Holland America Line has officially opened bookings for a massive autumn 2027 Mediterranean program aboard its flagship, the Rotterdam.
This is actually the Rotterdam's first extended deployment in the Mediterranean. The schedule runs from October 17 through December 8, 2027.
And to grasp the strategy here, we need the facts on the ship. The Rotterdam is a Pinnacle-class ship launched in 2021.
Built by Fincantieri, right?
Yes, with a gross tonnage of 99,800. It has a standard capacity of 2,668 passengers, 1,025 crew across 1,340 cabins and 13 passenger decks.
And it joins 3 other Holland America vessels in the region for the 2027-2028 season, the Nieuw-Statendam, Oosterdam, and Zatterdam.
Right, let's look at the routing. It kicks off with a 10-day Spain and Portugal voyage on October 17th, sailing from Rotterdam down to Barcelona.
Calling at Portsmouth, Laverdon-sur-Mer, Bilbao, Cartagena, Valencia, and Lisbon.
Then, on October 27th, it transitions into an 11-day Mediterranean Splendor itinerary to Athens.
Right, hitting Palma de Mallorca, Marseille, Livorno, Civitavecchia, Naples, Corfu, and Kotor.
Then it sets up base in the Eastern Mediterranean for 2 Athens round trips. November 7 features an overnight in Istanbul plus Kusadasi.
And the November 17th sailing includes Alexandria, Limassol, Antalya, Kusadasi, Rhodes, and an overnight in Haifa.
Then on November 28, it departs Athens for an Italy itinerary Kotor, Valletta, Messina, Naples, Civitavecchia, and Livorno.
And a unique highlight there is scenic cruising through the Strait of Messina, right past the active volcano of Stromboli.
Finally, it closes with a 14-day transatlantic crossing on December 8 from Barcelona to Fort Lauderdale, stopping in Valencia, Alicante, Malaga, and Tangier.
So when you look at that schedule, the strategic logic is clear. They are heavily utilizing butterfly itineraries.
I want to clarify that term, meaning the ship flies out from a central port on one route, returns, and then flies out on a different route.
Exactly. Because embarkation ports align so efficiently, like finishing one cruise in Barcelona and immediately starting the next from Barcelona, guests can combine consecutive sailings.
Right, without ever packing their bags or changing cabins.
Yeah. And the specific ports offer deep historical access. Routing to Kusadasi provides access to Ephesus.
And Naples allows for full-day excursions to Pompeii before crossing the Atlantic.
This is where the 99,800 gross tonnage is an asset. It's a Goldilocks size. Large enough for flagship amenities, but its draft allows it to safely dock at deeply historical ports like Kotor in Montenegro.
Places the 200,000-ton megaships just cannot navigate.
Exactly.
We are going to pivot our focus now to a sobering update concerning cruise passenger safety.
Right.
Maintaining a strictly factual approach here, we report that a 76-year-old American guest from the Norwegian Jewel died in Bermuda on Sunday, June 14th.
The incident occurred near Eli's Harbour, located in Sandys Parish on Bermuda's west coast.
And for geographical context, Eli's Harbour is a sheltered body of water between the main island and Somerset Island.
Right. It connects to the Great Sound through a channel just below Somerset Bridge.
According to the timeline, the incident occurred while the guest was participating in a snorkeling shore excursion. At approximately 11 a.m., the woman began having severe difficulty in the water.
And she subsequently became unresponsive.
Fellow passengers and her son quickly assisted in bringing her onto a nearby beach, where they immediately initiated CPR.
They sustained those life-saving measures until professional emergency medical services arrived.
Just to be completely clear on the jurisdiction here, the initial response was entirely civilian.
Yes. Immediate physical assistance was provided by civilians. Then the local Bermuda Coast Guard and Bermuda EMS arrived, and at that point, local authorities assumed full jurisdiction.
EMS personnel then transported the woman to King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, where she was pronounced dead.
Out of respect for privacy, her identity has not been publicly disclosed.
The Bermuda Police Service has concluded their investigation, officially stating that foul play is not suspected and attributing the death to a pre-existing medical condition.
Norwegian Cruise Line also released a statement confirming the Coast Guard response to the location and extending heartfelt condolences to the family.
We will leave you today with one final forward-looking detail that connects back to our environmental coverage.
Right. As lines finalize their 2027 deployments, they are bracing for the IMO's net zero framework.
Starting in 2027, this will introduce stringent, well-to-weight greenhouse gas fuel intensity limits.
Meaning regulators won't just measure what comes out of the smokestack, they will calculate emissions from the moment fuel is extracted to the moment it's burned.
Which is a monumental regulatory shift for how future fleets are powered and routed globally. Thanks for listening to Cruise News. Visit cruisenews.io to catch up on the latest updates and sign up for free email alerts.